Here's a simple game I played on the internet this afternoon. It was played with the rapid time controls, 15 minutes per game with 5 minutes increment per move. I was playing with the white pieces. My opponent's name is Fritz Tan, but he's actually not a computer. He's from Ontario, I think. We're playing the dragon, and these are all the normal moves. And here black played a sideline, bishop d7, so he delays castling. The main line, of course, is to castle as soon as possible. But because bishop d7, the idea is to delay castling, and we'll see why. I go g4, goes rook c8, developing the queen side. White castles, and after knight e5 and h4, we just continue. White continues with the king side attack, so I want to play h5 and open up the h file. And the idea of black delaying the castling is so that now he can play pawn to h5. And if I say take, well, he's not afraid to capture back because he may actually get some play on the h file. His rook is still well placed here. So I looked at this variation a little bit quite recently, and I remembered that if black delays castling and goes h5, I should not take on h5. Instead, I should advance. And after knight retreats, here the plan for white is clear. The plan is to, now that the h and g files are shut down, the plan now is to advance with f4, f5. And I think the main line is actually to go f4 immediately. I thought about it, but I didn't like that after f4 and knight to g4, of course I have to retreat with the bishop. I can't let black trade here, because then my dark squares would become too weak. So I have to keep this bishop on e3, and the only way to do this is with bishop to g1, but then I'm not sure how to really proceed with the f4, f5. My rook would rather be here on f1, but it's really stuck here on h1. And I wasn't sure if f4, f5 without the rook on the f5 would be all that effective. So I went bishop e2 first, and was a bit fortunate that black gave me some time to execute my plan under good circumstances. So he castled. Now I go rook h to f1, and black goes rook to e8 so that he can get this knight out to, well, f8 maybe. But this gives me time to attack on the f file, and when the f file opens up, the fact that the rook is missing on the f file will be to white's advantage. Maybe it was better to go something like f6. I'm not sure, because how else can he get this knight out? Maybe he should have not hurried with getting this knight out, and maybe play queen to a5 or maybe b5 just to get attack going on the queen side, ignoring that knight here for now. Anyway, he went rook e8, and now f4 comes in with all the conveniences. Bishop to g1, and now I'm ready to play f5 and knight f8. Well, f5 comes in. What are the ideas? Well, idea is to put pressure on g6, maybe threaten to play f6. Maybe since I'm cutting off the bishop from defending the knight, maybe the idea is just to chop on g4. So he has to move the knight. And now I could take, or I could play f6, but none of these moves seem to be all that helpful. This pawn here is quite good on the 5. It's preventing his knight from coming into the game. So an exchange like this not really be all that much to my advantage. Just give him this knight square for the knight. Not something I like to do. So for now I just build up the pressure with knight d5. A great square for the knight in the dragon. And here he maybe hurried too much with e6, because it just gives me a really good attack. So he went e6, which is really encouraging me to open up the f file. And I have two ways of doing it. Either by, well, I could also try to maybe shut down things with f6, but for now my knight is attacked. So I could either, well, I really have three ways. I could either take here on e6, I could take on g6, or I could play knight to f6 right away. I was thinking about all three of them, In the end, I settled for the simplest move, f takes e6. This could have allowed my opponent to play knight e6 and actually get his knight out. This would have been definitely better for black than the game. What I should have done here, I should have not allowed him to do this. I should have taken on g6, and if he takes back, then we're back into the game, which went really well for white. And this would cut out the option of knight e6. If black decides to try to capture my knight, he's just going to be demolished. So if he takes, I take on f7, forking the rook and the king, so he has to take back, and then after bishop h5, white's attack is just devastating. So f7 is threatened, so he protects it, then I just build up on the attack, and now the rook is hanging as well, and if he takes, it turns out that this position is completely winning for white. He's a little bit down on material, but these three pawns are just gonna crush. f6, g6, they're all advancing. There's no way to save the position for black. So I should have done f takes g6. Instead I went with a simple rook e6, sorry, f takes e6, and my opponent made a mistake by not capturing back with a piece, and after this is just cruising for white. Knight f6, it's a fork, so he's forced to take, and now I take with the pawn. This is important because this creates the threats of the queen coming to h6. My opponent has traded off his dark squared bishop with his last move, so now the dark square weaknesses are becoming really important. He was hoping to cover them up with knight to f7, and it seems like everything's covered. It turns out that this h5 advance that he made early in the game is preventing him from defending here successfully. So a simple move, bishop to h5. Of course, if he takes, then queen to g2, and then checkmate. So g7 is not covered. Interesting that this is the square where normally black has a bishop. Now that bishop's gone, defense is really hard. So this neat little sacrifice, bishop takes e5, really wraps up the game. He tried to resist with something like e5, but that doesn't help at all because my knight was actually eager to jump to the king side. So if I play something silly like knight to b3, well, then he gets some play because he can maybe even take, and after this he actually does get to block the file with the bishop. Of course, I have to not retreat to the queen side. Instead, I have to go ahead and just sacrifice another piece. And it's funny because both the bishop and knight are hanging, but the pawn can only take one of them at a time, and no matter which one is getting captured the same way. If the pawn captures here, the same queen g2 is going to give checkmate. So he can't take with the pawn. He tried to take back with the bishop, but this just allows me to create more threats. Now the pawn is threatening to capture here, and my opponent just resigned because there's no way of effectively defending the g6 pawn, and he cannot take either on f5 or on h5. Was a timely resignation, but had he tried to continue, say with king to h7 to guard g6, then a simple exchange operation takes and then takes again, and white is just giving checkmate. So if the king goes here, then just something like bishop e3. If he goes back to h7, well, then queen here, and just to beat this to death, if he goes here, then rook to f5 is going to be the same idea. So a nice little game, just 24 moves. I'm usually not a very aggressive attacker, but this game shows that if you're well prepared, if you have some idea of how to continue an attack, it's actually a lot easier to attack than to defend, and it's just more fun.